the enlargement topic is really very high positioned in this setting. And we would somehow like to say, firstly, that because the Adriatic Union strategy actually encompasses member states and candidate countries, and for now, the candidate countries actually outnumber the other members, the enlargement is also very important. And this also means that this is already very well integrated in the work of the EUSAIR. It's not a separate objective. And what we would like to do today is really to showcase why it is important and what is the benefit of being the member of the strategy. But also more important, we need your help in steering us how to move further from this, how to even strengthen the support that this setting, the EUSAIR, actually can offer. Today with us are Mrs. Zuica Zmajkowska from the Ministry of European Affairs, North Macedonia, our host to this forum. With her is Ms. Jasminka Kirkova, Ministry of Transport and Communication from North Macedonia. On my left is our Youth Council member, Ms. Milica Stankic, Serbia, but also connected to Bosnia and Herzegovina. We have one man with us, Mr. Mitja Brica, Ministry of Natural Resources and Special Planning. Not very balanced, but we were looking for the topics. And with us is also Jill Skill from DG Radio. So before we start, I would kindly ask Zuica for the opening remarks. Okay.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Julia. The people must be already bored seeing me all over the place. You know, the next when you go home, I might jump out your fridge. So be careful. So good afternoon to everyone, and welcome to this session, which is dedicated to the support of enlargement, support of EUSAIR to the enlargement. I'm very pleased that I have the opportunity to greet you all on behalf of the our presidency, which is luckily moving towards its end, and we have some of the Italian colleagues here. Good luck with the Italian presidency, which is starting very soon. I'm ready to hand over the flag. So we are talking about enlargement, and indeed, yesterday we heard many messages delivered by the high-level representatives that the enlargement is in the agenda of all of the high on the agenda of all of the participating country in EUSAIR. But we as practitioners of EUSAIR and public servants would like to see in the coming future, of course, materialization, let's say, of those words, because we can have the words and the promises and the statements of our politicians, but we are eager to see how that to be implemented into practice, because when we are talking about enlargement, in particular in this moment when the enlargement is very high on the agenda of EU as well, in all the discussions on European level, we should recognize that the enlargement is not only political process linked to the negotiations, linked to the meetings that our ministers or high-level representatives are having in Brussels or in other EU centers, but it's very much related to the real processes which are happening on ground. In particular, because as was mentioned previously in the strategy, we have more candidate countries than member states. So everything that we are doing in the strategy is contributing to the enlargement, but a particular recognition of this came with the revision of the action plan when the enlargement was added as a horizontal topic. Another point, I will try to be as brief as possible. I won't want to take much of the time for the panel. When we're talking about enlargement, usually we are not aware that EUSAIR also other macro-regional strategies are already contributing to the enlargement. So we have processes which are there, which are happening, but because of maybe a lack of visibility, lack of communication, of misperceptions, and etc., we are not aware that what is happening on the ground is actually that link between the macro-regional cooperation and the enlargement. So now, with the revised action plan within EUSAIR, we are working more concretely on having streamlined, more organized way of supporting the enlargement, And at this panel, I'm sure will give some of the answers in which direction we want to move in the coming period. So I have, as I said, many points can be made on this topic. Discussions can be ongoing. Very long. We can have very long discussions on it. But let's start with the panel. Use it as it's not a starting point. We have had many starting points, but let's say take the conclusions from this panel and use it afterwards to define what more can be done for the enlargement. Thank you.
Thank you, Zuica. Before we engage into the topic, maybe just a brief information how we actually scheduled today's session. So in the first part, we will hear some showcases of how actually the benefits are already tangible in a way, but the rest of the time we would like to work in groups, in smaller discussions. So that's why we will also keep the time as possible. I have not introduced another guest, which we have online today, and this is Miriam. This is Ms. Biljana Ramić from the Ministry of Mining and Energy in Serbia. Can we hear you? Can we see you?
Yes. Hello.
Okay. It would. Oh, perfect. So you are with us, and we will start with you. We will touch a few of the pillars and the topics because we just cannot cover everything, and we will start with the energy. When you speak of energy, it's something that we take as something that is very granted and is there. You know, when you switch on the light, you go where you switch on the cooling and heating and everything, but it's not so simple. What we feel at the end is also when we get the bills. But greening this sector is another topic which is relevant for both countries. I mean, for both countries, for the member states and also for the EU candidates. And Ms. Ramić is actually the right person to talk about this story. She is the pillar coordinator, but she is also negotiating the Serbia's accession on 2 chapters on energy and environment. So from your experience, what does actually being a member in the EUSAIR mean for Serbia and for other candidate countries? Can you explain it in a very, very tangible, concrete way?
Well, first of all, good morning once again to everybody, and thanks for the invitation and the opportunity to participate on this panel. I must say that I have been involved in EUSAIR since 2014, from its very beginning, and I'm very proud of that. I really enjoy working on EUSAIR and have learned a lot. EUSAIR is very specific. It is a structured process and mechanisms with clearly defined bodies, governance, and rules. And as such, it provides an excellent opportunity to better understand EU processes and policies. First and foremost, EUSAIR offers a platform to enhance knowledge and communication, strengthen cooperation, propose ideas and suggestions, discuss current challenges, and share information. I would like to kindly remind you that non-EU countries which participating in EUSAIR are also contracting parties of the energy community. Therefore, EUSAIR represents an important opportunity to apply the experience gained through the energy community, improve cooperation, and propose and develop various types of actions. Through the work in thematic steering group TSG2 on energy, we try and to involve and continues to involve a wide range of stakeholders, and in this way, this process has enabled valuable insights into key territorial challenges and funding opportunities. There are several, I must say, main achievements of our work in TSG2 on energy networks. First of all, I have to mention EUSAIR labeling of projects and measures. This list was established in 2017 and was revised through the whole process of our work in the first programming period. Then this is a development of master plan for energy networks. Certainly, it is organization of significant number of meetings, events, and workshops. Then active participation in the process of embedding process and programming period 2021-2027, including the definition of 3 flagships for energy network and a revision of the EUSAIR action plan. If I have to choose some concrete task or work during the process of EUSAIR, I would like to choose this process of revision, EUSAIR action plan, because this process was very challenging, but also provided an important opportunity to actively contribute and shape a new action plan. Discussion with the European Commission were lengthy and at times challenging, especially concerning the long term towards the pathway energy transition and options. The most significant changes in the action plan for EUSAIR are related to Pillar 2 subgroup for energy. During the first programming period, the focus was mainly limited to energy networks, which was not adequately reflected in policies, obligations, and actions. But now we revised EUSAIR action plan, and I consider that we now provide significant improvements. The energy dimensions is now structured around 2 main topics. One is energy networks, but the other is decarbonizing the energy system. In this way, I think the EUSAIR and our active participation can be much more improved and provide better cooperation, communication, and strengthen all of us in the process of realization our obligations in the field of energy and climate. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I would suggest that we hear the other panelists as well, and then we will have maybe some time for your questions or for your comments as well. Maybe we'd go to North Macedonia. Ms. Kirkova, you are also co-coordinating the transport pillar. And again, transport and connectivity, linking the Western Balkans with Europe is one of the very challenging tasks, especially not just because we want to provide safe and good travels, we want to bring the goods to the shelves and so on, but this is also linked with very, very high investments. And it does matter where these connections are established. And North Macedonia has actively participated in the preparation of the master plan, but it's also in your reform agendas, these investments are very important. So maybe you could, as being a member of the EUSAIR for, I think, 5 years now, maybe you can reflect. So how this work actually contributes to what you do in your country and in your planning.
Well, DHG2 within the EUSAIR is about the straight and multimodal connections, transport connection among the countries in the region, but also it's about deepening the integration of the Adriatic Union region, because that consists from EU member states and non-EU member states with the European Union. Also, it means that we have to coordinate policy and also to somehow share investments. When speaking about investments, let's say on our territory, two so-called pan-European corridors 8 and 10 are crossing by. Both of them now, they are part of the Western Balkan Eastern Mediterranean corridor. And when we somehow connect with the master plan, that is somehow the most important delivery from our DHG group. The master plan shows the current situation and makes a forecast for the next 10, 20 years from now. From the master plan, let's say we can see where the future investments has to be done. Where are we have to improve the border crossings facility in order to make a free movement or at least easier movements of passenger and goods. As you have said, we are only 5 years in the EUSAIR, and when we joined the strategy, the concept for the master plan was already done. Then the master plan was done. Now the revision is ongoing. In fact, it is already done, but it is somehow fine-tuning the last update. If we somehow connect this with the reform agenda, as you have said, within the reform agenda, we have EFTI and ITS, which means movements of goods, and on the other hand, the safety, transport safety. Maybe it is not really connected with the team, but I want to about the EFTI in terms of enlargement. More or less, the alignment with the UK is already in place, and what is next? It should be integration of the system of the EFTI, which means software and hardware, but without coordination from the European Union, it could not be efficient. What I mean, the softwares and hardwares that will be bought both from the countries in the region has to be interoperable and also at the same time compatible, not only between the countries in the region, but also with the one in the European Union, with the member states in the European Union, which means really coordination is needed and also instructions how to, let's say, proceed after the alignment is in place. Okay, alignment is not an easy thing, but it will be done. But what is important for the transporters, let's say, when they are going in the EU and when they are transporting goods, their papers should be in e-format, but the systems should be compatible and interoperable with those in the EU member states. And also, when we talk about the corridors and investments, I will take Corridor 8 as an example. We have missing links from the both sides at the borders, from the Bulgarian side and Albanian side. And without synchronization, which means the construction of the corridors to be timely planned, the investments in each particular country will be, let's say, not a good example. So it should be synchronized. Thank you.
Thank you very so we see the importance of also this closer regional coordination, not just doing something nationally and coordinated with the Commission or the European Union, but it's also very important what you do here in this context. When we speak of all these activities, which are very much also investment related, but when we speak of investments, we usually speak also of this big infrastructure, which needs to find a place on the ground. And this brings us to the environment, protection of the environment in one way, but also to protection of the nature, and where we actually provide these corridors, these links. And this affects our communities. Mr. Britzel, we spoke in the earlier session, you touched the marine spatial planning, river basement management, but I would like us to focus now on maybe one initiative, and this is the Adriatic Sea, which we share. We all know there is a lot of traffic going on. There is a lot of tourism along these coasts. Thousands of communities actually live in these coasts. And having many interests, many users of the sea, one of them, it's also the transport. And when something goes wrong, like an oil spill, we need to be coordinated how we respond to that. And one of the projects, which actually started between Slovenia, Croatia, and Italy, was on contingency planning. And this initiative has now expanded to the south of the Adriatic. Can you just shortly show us what is the added value of such projects? We know it takes time, but what does it really mean for the people in these communities on the sea, for the businesses? Okay.
Thank you very much. Yes, indeed. Pressure and impacts are growing from land to sea and from sea also activities to the coastal environment. And in this sense, we are all together. Water bodies, they do not know for the borders. Ecosystem services and goods we share in the river basin, coast and sea are essential. Now I will switch a little bit broader for the blue economy. Blue economy you cannot deal seriously with if you do not take care about good ecological status of the water bodies. This is future, not just for the energy, it's for the food supply and of course all what we need for our living. All this together, it's now going back to your question is how we succeed. Yes, indeed, it was huge gap. And thanks to European Commission, European Court audit recognized this gap even, and they push the Italian, Slovenian, Croatian, EU countries to move forward and to, of course, respond appropriate with these activities to prevent all activities to prevent oil spills and other chemical accidents due to very high transport on the Adriatic. Just oil which is coming from, let's say, Otranto to Trieste, to the most northern part, it's more than 80 million tons of oil to the pipeline from Trieste to Central Europe, and all cargo which is from all kinds and growing touristic whatever, and pleasure craft activities and everything what is happening now in this shared water body of the Adriatic. And this was the reason that we, in our TSG3, as a flagship project, also start with North Adriatic Contingency Plan, which we succeed to get consensus and support of the governing board. And we, on the end, of course, finalize it with the institutions from Italy, Slovenia, and Croatian colleagues, and we really significantly enhance with this the maritime authorities in 3 countries to come to the state of the art of the tools which are modern, to prevent those and to manage appropriately with those goods in the Adriatic. And thanks to this project over the North Adriatic, we extended to the South Adriatic, which is also completed now, and the final test will be in the September 23rd and 4th this year, with a common exercise in the Bay of Koper among all countries, with the support of European Commission and EMSA, with all, let's say, technical equipment from all countries, from the navies to the maritime authorities, helicopters, and all this what we can use nowadays to prevent those accidents, and in case of accidents to act appropriately to minimize those damages for the coastal environment and marine environment as well, of course. This is something very concrete, what was not before on the, let's say, on the coast and ground. Now, thanks to this, let's say, coordination and action is, and this is huge, I would say, improvement compared with years ago, to be, as, let's say, responsible management of now maritime activities. And this is the point where I would like to really make some sort of comment and recommendations. Our activities in Pillar 3, which is called environmental quality, we invested all the time our best to, of course, not just to prevent activities, protected areas, blah, 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 and make problems for the business, as it's simplified many times. No, it's opposite. This concrete project, we mentioning 2 projects for North and South Adriatic, not it's for the whole Adriatic. We invested in the issues which are, by the way, the core activities of the Pillar 2, transport and energy, oil pollution. It's not just environment per se, but it's to minimize negative impacts of transport and energy sector to marine and coastal environment, and taking into account the principle polluter pay principles. It's very clear who should pay and invest in this. But okay, Nevertheless, we invest a lot of our time and money of Pillar 3 and activities to contribute to the Pillar 2 and blue economy, which is Pillar 1, and I believe also to Pillar 4, what is sustainable tourism. And we are very much proud on that, and we demonstrated synergy in a way which are concrete to really be responsible with all sectors to show the way that it's possible to plan activities. We developed also the marine spatial planning methodology with blue and green corridors to help the sectors and the countries to move forward, not just to stop activities. And all this, I believe, would never be possible without Adriatic Ionian strategy and our activities, and of course with you and your contribution to that we shared these, let's say, needs, knowledge, and on the end, all our best to invest in consensus for the priority project or flagship project, whatever you call it, to move forward. That's it.
Thank you very much. And a very concrete conclusion, because we now know that we are able to respond along the Adriatic when something happens in a coordinated, harmonized way and with improved equipment as well. Okay, so we talked about the very complex topics so far. And now I would like to speak shortly with Milica. As a young generation living in the Western Balkans, and I would just like to say, when we speak about our common region, it's really not always about the directions and EU rules and so on, but it's, why we have this legislation is because we want to live better in a safe, good environment. You have been the Youth Council member for how many years? For 2 mandates or something?
2 mandates.
2 mandates.
And
yes.
it will be 3rd mandate very soon.
Great. Okay. So it's my question would be, what does it mean for the young people being part of this EUSAIR process, especially for the ones living in the candidate countries, having the opportunity to meet with the others, but also in the perspective that we know that many young people are actually looking for better opportunities elsewhere, but how do you see it? How can this contribute also for you to prosper in this region?
Thank you for this question. Can you hear me now? Okay. So this EUSAIR Youth Council for me means a lot. And not just for me, but for all members of the EUSAIR Youth Council, especially with from people from the Western Balkan countries. Why? Because before, several years ago, we couldn't have that opportunity to spread our voices, our ideas, how to help environment to functioning better. But this initiative, this EU strategy means a lot for every country, for every person, and especially for the young people. I'm really grateful to be on this forum and especially on this panel with these experts, because it's really interesting to listen to you, not just to listen, to get some knowledge, for sharing with us your experience, how you implement your ideas to the realization into the plan, into the real life. Can you repeat the question? Other part? I think it is.
What does it mean for you and for the young people in the Western Balkans becoming part of the larger Europe?
It's been more activation of young people to get a realization our ideas. I'm really glad that especially on my pillar that they heard our voices, they heard our concerns for our environment. I'm talking about pillar 3 because I'm the part of that pillar. But it's really interesting how they want to help to us. It's not some institutions not open to work with youth people. But I hope, and I saw some, let's say, improvement in my country and in country of Western Balkans, that institutions wants to collaborate with young people, because the future is the time going very fastly, and we will be later elder one who will trying to save the environment of from climate changes, from and other issues in our environment. But I hope so that we, as a young people, could save our Europe, our Adriatic Union region, our Western Balkans, and for me personally also means, I said many times a lot, but it means improvement, fostering ideas, fostering a process of realization of ideas. Also, it means also the connection between youth people with the people who had more experience than us, and that's a really big privilege for me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It was also a privilege for me to be able to speak to some other youth council members, and I will pass just one short line when we spoke, and there was one young man, and he said, we are a minority here, and it's true, and this is something what EUSAIR should work on also in the future, and also how to learn to work with each other. I've heard from many young people saying we respect the knowledge and the wisdom of the older, and we have to find maybe another formats how we can cooperate together. But I will stop talking now. We still have one panelist, Mr. Jill Kittle. We've seen that there are many good cases showing this cooperation. But it's also important looking ahead, looking post 2027, and looking also ahead how the DG Regio sees these processes and what might be maybe some emerging or existing topics which need more attention also in terms of enlargement. Shortly, please.
Okay, it's
Now you are being pushed to be short.
yeah, I mean, no, thank you for the question. As you might imagine, you say we are many in Brussels to reflect on this question, so it's not easy to provide you with. First, it's not an official position that I'm about expressing. It's more, let's say, different considerations. Trying to, because as we say also in other sessions, there are many uncertainties in front of us. First, I would like to say there is a change in political leadership in the world, as you might have observed, I assume. There is also a global change of the state of security in general. And that is the reason the Commission in its proposal is defending what we call the strategic autonomy. But that has many implications. That means that obviously we have to re-engineer even our value chains. We have to, in a way, re-evaluate also our partnerships. So, as you can imagine, this is, let's say, extremely substantial. In terms of enlargement, again, I mean, this is really a consideration. It's not a political statement. Probably enlargement is more seen nowadays as is focused more on security than on peace, let's say. So in other words, obviously, we are concerned that other actors might be active in the region and in a way disturb, let's say, the serenity of Europe. So from different point of view, from a security point of view, from a competitiveness point of view, and you can observe, you see that some like China, they're extremely active. They're progressing everywhere, actually. And therefore, but on the other hand, it's also true that we have to cooperate with them. You see, I mean, we cannot imagine that they will disappear, you see, from one to another. So all those things are important, and that's why you see the first priority of the Commission in the next programming period is the strategic autonomy. The second is obviously linked is the security. And again, that's linked to what you can observe around. The third one is competitiveness, and that's based on the famous reports from Draghi. And in that respect, obviously, there is quite some inspiration in the proposal that the Commission made. And then the green and digital transition will remain, which were already priorities in this programming period, but that will be. And in that context, obviously, the emergence, or now it's not even an emergence of artificial intelligence, is something that was not even identified in the period 2027, imagine, and now which is really, it's very clear that this will transform our world completely. So you have also to understand that I think there is first this difficulty that the world is evolving extremely fast. And I think for all of us, we are a bit, let's say, we have difficulties probably to identify all the most important priorities. On the top of that, obviously, our construction is complex. There are many countries around the table with different interests. And therefore, so far, it's not obvious at all that there will be an agreement on the proposed budget. And when I say so, it means that you have countries who, for instance, would like to see a reduction of the overall budget. There are others who doesn't want to see an increase of the revenues in a way of the European Union because we have a certain number of revenues. The Commission is making proposals in that respect. And the third, let's say, big source of controversies is the ring fencing, if I can put it like this. So there is in the proposal the idea that certain policies are in a way protected. So they will be given a minimum amount. And this is disputed also among the member states. So that is already, let's say, a first source of difficulty. And that's for the MFF. I'm not speaking yet about the cohesion, but in general, you see, and also where we put the let's say, the priorities in terms of funding. So now if we think, we reflect on the future NRPP, so the future cohesion policy, then there is a debate on the new approach, which is considered by some as too centralized, because the idea is to have one single plan per country. And again, I'm not discussing the merit of the proposal. I'm just observing, you see, let's say, the different reactions. What you can see is first, you have, for instance, a complete rejection by the European Parliament. All the political groups in the Parliament rejected most of the elements of the NRPP proposal because of, well, it's not the only reason, but they consider it as too centralized and giving not even enough space to the regions and to the local authorities. You have also a very strong opposition from the Committee of Regions. You can understand, in a way, continue what I've just mentioned. But you have also extremely tough critics from the European Court of Auditors. That's more on the performance logic, where they claim that in reality, there is no genuine performance measurement in what we have done so far, that the indicators are extremely difficult to be quantified. And therefore, there is no, let's say, it will be very difficult for the Commission to establish, let's say, a sound methodology. Again, I'm not saying, you see, that I'm supporting this view. I'm just saying that, you see, you have all those elements to take into consideration. So we have nonetheless to consider them if we're moving on. You heard, for some of you, you were maybe in the previous session, we had the colleague from the delegation claiming, you see, that they are moving on this reform approach. I would be more prudent. you see, I mean, yes, there is certainly a willingness to introduce a bit this idea of reform, but we should see how much the member state will be ready in reality to embark, let's say, in the next proposal, the final proposal. And I think it's still difficult to say. So those elements should be considered. The last one, let's say, I'm really trying to identify the most important ones. Is the and this is not directly linked to. Sorry, you have to go.
No.
It's directly linked to, not directly linked to this region, but which is important is Ukraine. Is the reconstruction of Ukraine, is the possible enlargement of Ukraine. This is raising a lot of questions. In a way, enlargement nowadays, you see, even enlargement of Montenegro will create precedent for future enlargement. This is something you have to understand. Although you might think this has nothing to do. You see, Montenegro obviously is not connected to Ukraine, but from our point of view, from the Commission point of view, we are now establishing a new methodology, and in a way, this methodology should apply to all the new member states, or all the new, let's say, the candidate countries and future member states. So, saying this, there is also, and that's the last element, which is substantial. You have to think is that certain countries like France say there is no question to enlarge if we don't reform first the institutions, if we don't, in a way, modernize, simplify the decision-making in Europe. Already now with 27, we see that it's extremely difficult to take certain decisions, that some countries blocked some important decision still recently. And therefore, they're saying we cannot imagine to even enlarge more if we are not able, you see, to function with the current rules. But that might call for a reform of the treaties, so meaning it would take a lot of time. It might not be even possible. So again, is to tell you, so you should understand that really it's probably the perspective we have now is probably much more complex than we had for the period 21-27. Now,
I'll ask you to achieve it.
Yeah. So now, if we think practically for you, I think what remain nonetheless important, because that should remain. You see, whatever the needs in a way will remain. That's what you should know. The citizen will have needs. You will have, you see, and we can assume the politicians will pay attention to this. So what is put in the proposal, and we think that will remain whatever can happen, is that it will be the place-based approach will continue to apply. What does it mean again, considering the other elements I've mentioned? We should see. What also will remain is the partnership principle, this idea that we have to have a very large, let's say, participation of the civil society, of different organizations in the way we are designing, implementing, evaluating our policies. So this is probably how we should move on to think that in reality, the principles that we are using are the good ones. They will not change. Maybe there will be a certain number of relabeling, let's say, on certain elements. There might be, we cannot exclude some reforms, you see, elements of reform that will be introduced in a model that we don't have now. What will be certainly new, so, and I think this is a good thing, is this integration with the EU policies, like, for instance, the Common Agricultural Policy, because, again, this link between rural and non-rural areas is something probably that was, in a way, artificially created, and where we need to work, you see, to get them better together. But again, so is to say, in that respect, for instance, I'm speaking for EUSAIR because I cannot speak for the other strategy. I don't know them sufficiently. But the flagship like the Mediterranean Diet or the flagship like the Ohrid Prespa Lake are, in a way, anticipating this new approach. So we are operating in a much more integrated way. So cross-pillar, if I use the strategy terminology. So it's place-based, so it's absolutely fine. Leader will continue to exist, you see, in the future. So despite, again, all those changes. So it's to tell you that despite all those uncertainties, there are, in a way, a direction that we should try to keep. I'm convinced it's what the strategy is doing is correct. In terms of enlargement, to be frank, I cannot say too much. And I think you should be prudent. No, I'm really insisting on enlargement, considering also the elections next year in Europe. We don't know, you see, and I think we should be very cautious on this. But that doesn't mean that the strategy cannot work on enlargement. We can really work, and that's the message you see, maybe final message I want to pass on. That's the advantage of the strategies. We are not bound by this overall, let's say, political discussion. We can, on a daily basis, really on a peer-to-peer, let's say, level, we can continue exchanging. And that's, I think, the most important. The rest, you see, will happen. Thank you.
So we thank you for this larger, bigger picture.
Sorry, I can't hear you.
Okay. No, it's okay. I have asked if there are comments from the participants, and Mr. Žepić has.
Yes. It's very excited when we are talking about enlargement or embeddings and all these kind of things that we have, or at least I have, my brains have difficulties to understand. First of all, I would like to say thank you to all the presenters, in particular on what is going on, what we are doing within macro-regional. I would like to thank Mr. Kittel because he explained this larger picture of the issues that are happening around us in Europe. However, what I would like to say is that with enlargement as such, it is so high level, the highest level political decisions, that we have little influence. Now I'm going to say, speak on behalf, I'm a member in 3 macro-regional strategies, but coordinator for transport in Danube. How do we contribute to enlargement? First of all, by having on our agendas, on steering group meetings and other events, always EU affairs, what we call. So we pass what is happening in legislation. In legislation that people in transport in candidate countries needs to use one day. And they are aware of. And I will give you even much more concrete example. We are talking now in railways of signaling European rail traffic management system, level 1, 2, and 3, but there is already in 32 a new one, mobile system that will work on 5G. So, why I'm saying this? I'm saying this that the countries who did not start yet ERTMS should not spend money unnecessary in something that will be changed in 4 years. You understand? So this is number one that I want to stress that could contribute and contributes to enlargement. Second, I would like to say is we are always working on equal footing. There is no difference, EU, non-EU, candidate, whatever. We are all the same. And I wanted to say something else, but it skipped my mind for time being. But I just want to say that we have to be aware how we contribute and where are our limits, where the others are deciding. Thank you very much. Sorry for being long.
Thank you for this contribution. It was not long. Maybe we could hear some other opinion. Anybody else? We have somebody at the back. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. A question to the Commission. Will it be expected or required even for the new program period that Interreg programs connect much closer with the macro-regional strategies? And will it also be expected that the Interreg programs through the macro-regional structures, the macro-regional strategies, will help implement the reforms that you you will require in the new Interreg regulation?
Thank you. So I understand there are two questions. The first is normally the logic will remain the same. So we will have five, because there will be 5 strategies soon. There will be 5 programs supporting those strategies. And the question is then how much of their budget will be dedicated to those strategies. There will be no requirement to, I think for the other program, maybe there will be a joint statement, you see, but we need to see. I must insist here, because that's for us important. In reality, it's not only about Interreg programs. What we want is that in reality, all the cohesion policy programs are, let's say, aligned with the priorities of the strategies when they can. And this is even true for the other EU instruments. And that's actually this embedding effort that we are trying to make, is to ensure it's not only Interreg, but can be so cohesion, but even ESF, so social fund, or even MARE, or so the maritime fund. So to answer your question, it's our winners, but we need to see how the legislator will reflect this into the text. For the time being, it's still very light. Let us be very clear. There's now something more in the second version, something better than the first one, but it could be still improved. On your second question, which is about, you ask about the reform, yeah. Yes, I mean, the reforms, this logic you see of reform investment will apply actually to all EU instruments, so including Global Europe, NRPP, all of even competitiveness fund. That's the same for the performance logic that will apply also across all the funds in the same manner. And that's a novelty, because before we had that was shown to you this morning for the ones who participated to the session, there were different sets of indicators per instrument. In the future, normally there will be a uniformized, let's say, set of indicators for all the funds. So there will be reforms financed by the Interreg, but they will be very limited, because in the, let's say, Interreg context, the reforms, they cannot be so significant. So we are thinking about, for instance, if you have, but that's already for countries who are, let's say, cooperating extremely well in the healthcare system, healthcare cooperation. You need to have an alignment of the social security systems between the two countries, for instance, to accept the patients, you see, of the other countries to be treated, things like that. So there might be reform of this kind of but that should be seen. And I don't think, honestly, here in the Balkans, this is realistic. You see, there's still a lot of, in a way, obstacles, border obstacles that we need to solve before we can really think about this type of reform. So there will be, but they will be very limited.
Have we got any other comment or contribution? No? I would ask Ms. Biljana Ramić if there are some comments on that, on the discussion we had.
Yes, if we are talking how EUSAIR can support EU enlargement, well, as one of speakers said, we are equal in the EUSAIR, EU member countries and non-EU member countries, in the sense of actions. So, on the other hand, EUSAIR should be or could be a platform which should identify our gaps, obstacles, or lacks, and somehow provide support for the process of realization our energy policies and obligations under our national and international obligations. If we are talking about current situation in the world, the global situation regarding energy and potential risks. We are aware that energy is in focus these days, and in the last few years, it is very unpredictable situation regarding energy prices and energy markets, and it has a big influence on energy security. We had yesterday our energy session, which was about energy security. Certainly, EUSAIR is a platform to improve energy security, first of all, through discussion and definition of possible tools, mechanisms, identifying our national characteristics, but also and regional characteristics, and to provide some proposals or, as I said, tools or mechanisms how to generally improve energy dependence and energy security on national level and also on a regional level. If we are talking only about non-EU member countries which are included in EUSAIR, then EUSAIR should be also some let's say mechanism for capacity building and also support in some additional areas which perhaps are not enough cover with our action plan, but are part basically of our activities in the process of decarbonization and energy transition, all of us. But I think somehow that they are really obstacles in non-EU member countries, such as just energy transition and energy poverty. So this strategy could be very useful and could support all non-EU countries in EUSAIR to somehow improve knowledges, but also and policies in these two fields, as I mentioned. And in general, certainly for all these actions and activities, EUSAIR should be used in order to improve financial dialogue with financial institutions and possible funds, because all actions regarding in the field of energy require significant funds from different sources. It's not possible to provide everything from national budget. So EUSAIR also could be one of platforms to support non-EU member countries for the process of enlargement in order to provide financial support or to improve financial dialogue with relevant financial institutions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we heard some very concrete proposals and also very concrete topics where the EUSAIR could concretely support the energy sector. As we are somehow short with time, I will not torture you with the group discussions, also because we are in a very small space. But in any case, I'm here on behalf of the Center of European Perspective, and Irnei Grachor at the back is supporting this session, but it's also contracted by the Facility Point to explore further how this support should actually look like. And one of the ideas, and this is also linking to the words of Ms. Ramic, is how to increase this capacity building. We know that administrations in the EU candidates are actually the ones who will implement these reforms. But these reforms are not happening only within the ministries and agencies. They are very important also when we look at the regional level, or they actually happen within local communities, in the municipalities, in local administrations. And one of the ideas that we are somehow exploring is if it makes sense to establish a community of practice. In a way, we know that this already exists within the TSG. As Mr. Žepić said, we are always giving time to explore what is happening, what is the new roles, what could be. But also knowing that you are already planning different thematic events when you bring up certain topics and so on. How could we better find the real and more practical needs, not just the big ones, not just how to do something, but maybe you have experienced people within the TSGs who can provide fast advice to small things. It's not just the big stories, it's not just the twinning and things which take time and so on, but how could we better explore? How can EUSAIR support you? So how could we learn about the needs within the ministries, within your co-workers, or at the lower level? This is one question, and the other, how to best respond to it. So which activities could actually bring value to what you are already doing? So this is a question for all. Mitja.
Very shortly, but this is the case. It's not no new money, no new institutions, no new legislation. What we tried in our pillar, and this is my experience, and here is Milica, I believe it's extremely important for EU and each country, EU or non-EU, to really open the dialogue and invite the young generation to be the part of the planning of the future. This is something, look to our, let's say, room, what is the average of us who are attending this meeting? We are getting old. I'm not. I'm talking in general now. Statistically, Europe is going. It's not in good shape, and this is something. If we would not find the appropriate way to really work with young population, we are losing. And this is something what we should be aware. And when we are talking about investments, about the money, who are we that we are taking alone the decisions for them without them? This is something what we should really think on and to act. And this is, I'm very proud that we somehow demonstrate at least little but concrete step in this, that we in Pillar 3 really showed the way that this is possible, not just to talk about, but Milica with the colleagues, they were so, let's say, proactive that they even suggest their first project, which is for their generation. This is maybe you can tell more than, which we try now to really push on. This is the early warning system for low water management and forest fires in the Adriatic Ionian region, which is very much connected with existing Sava flood forecasting and so on. This is something how we see the future. Planning should be with the young generation on the table where we are addressing the future. And this is, I believe, concrete step and responsible to demonstrate that we are really taking care about youth, about the future of Europe. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other idea? So we are talking about youth. We definitely need to engage the young people. And my question, maybe for you, Milica, is how do you see this engagement? What would make you want to be even stronger, more strongly involved in these processes? What would the young people need? How could we cater within these settings, as we know that we are limited with the funds and so on, but still, I think there is an opportunity.
Well, first of all, maybe it could be a great idea if we, as a EUSAIR or EUSAIR Youth Council, organize more workshop for younger generation, young people, from different pillars. Actually, I think that it could be a great idea because younger people want to be active, but they don't know how. And I started the idea, and they don't know even how to find the open calls for some events. So I started, for example, to share on social media some events which organized by EUSAIR and other European Union's activities. And I'm really glad and proud of the Western Balkan the people from the Western Balkan, actually young people especially, that they are more, let's say, motivated to act, to be active, to learn more about this stuff. How can they improve our environment, actually, how they can to be active in making some civil to be active and to be included in making decisions for on the local level, on the regional level, on the state level, and so on. I mean that it could be a great idea from beginning to start with workshop, and then with conference, and then maybe to include more youth people in these flagship initiatives. I'm really proud and glad that and honored that the Pillar 3 include my colleagues from the Youth Council on flagship about not spreading the fire forest, droughts, and flood catastrophic situations, which is not in the Western Balkan, but we are talking about Adriatic and Ionian region. How we can improve and get challenge and get how we can actually fight with these catastrophic climate changes, which is, for example, one day is a 20 Celsius degree, other day is 2 Celsius degree. It's not normal. It's not good for environment. What is include environment? Everything, and weather, and also the agriculture too, where we need food also for the waters, for the our green space, our also energy and other things. And I'm really thinking that we need to be more active, and I hope that EUSAIR or other youth initiatives could include more youth people. Thank you.
So bottom line, we can see that the young people are actually interested in what we are doing in this family, I would say. Maybe another comment, another idea. How could we work with each other and how we could spread these practices to be heard also outside, I would say, this setting, because we often hear how much has been done, but not many people know about it. I'm also asking our online audience if there is some comment or some idea. No. Otherwise, I would ask Irene maybe to share with you what we tried somehow is really to gather the people who are prepared to share their skills, their knowledge, and to create this community with having an information on how to start. But for the start, maybe just Jana will explain a little bit, and I hope you will join this initiative.
Hi, everyone, both to the people present here in Skopje and to the online participants. I'm Jerne Grahor from CEP, Jerry. I'll be short and sweet because I'm metaphorically and literally standing between you and lunch. So yeah, 3 topics, 3 thoughts. First of all, really thank you all for joining in today's discussion on this important topic, as we heard and as we all know at heart. And in our work, the strategies, the EUSAIR, the EUSDR, and other strategies contribute immensely to enlargement, also both directly and indirectly through the work, through the different networks, processes, and people who cooperate, creating different tools, networks, and exchange information, knowledge. That at first. Then at second, I would really thank all the different TSG coordinators, different pillar coordinators, TSG members, everyone within the EUSAIR family who, within this exercise that we're doing on enlargement within EUSAIR, welcomed us as part of the team in really proving, showcasing your work actually and how your daily and decades of work are contributing towards enlargement, and we will do so forward in a final report that we are doing in cooperation with the facility point. This is also part of a wider exchange that both the EUSAIR and EUSDR are making together, each on their side and jointly, to see how the strategies can contribute to enlargement within their scope. And yeah, this as a context, but as the final thought, what also Julia mentioned is the communities of practice. This is one of the solutions that was proposed within the strategy. The strategy as such is already a community of practice with the different networks that work here, but through this practice where we're trying to get as close as possible to the needs of different levels on the national, regional, on the local level within the strategy. When it comes to enlargement, the communities of practice can also address this to really finding experts who have knowledge on aligning a key, on how different things when it comes to enlargement can be in all the topics and pillars that you address, shared among the countries more concretely. And within this, can we put that slide just on? This is something that we're after all research within the strategy now, trying to bring all the people together. So I know the room is also filled with different stakeholders from different fields. So we wanted to take the opportunity to invite you also. We will therefore create these communities of practice as a contact list, or where everyone who has knowledge on a specific topic when it comes to enlargement, when it comes in the strategy, can join in this conversation. So if someone is from a different field, from private sector, from NGOs, from different communities, you are invited to contact us either through this form, which is just like a list of compiling as much people as possible on different topics. You can also, within the form, it will be also shared with you after the event through different digital means or so, but you can within it really very practically showcase in which field you would like to be engaged when it comes to EUSAIR and when it comes to enlargement. So this short and sweet, and the culmination of all 3 points I raised, like what we're doing is because the macro regional strategy is not abstract thing. We all live it. It's not a Kafkian castle in the sky. It's its people. It's its people for whom these services, these activities, these networks are created, the citizens of the strategy, and all of you who are working on it. So through this exchange, we also try to build as much strength in unity as possible through these communities of practice and support. That's short and sweet.
Thank you, Irnei. So this means you will not get rid of us very soon. We will still try to contact you and speak with you directly. So to conclude this session, thank you for all the participants being here, for your input. Also, thank you for the audience which you have online. I would just like to conclude that we have already shown that enlargement is very much embedded in the work of the EU strategies, and that we have quite some areas where this potential can even be strengthened. And moreover, it can be also strengthened with the synergies with the Danube region strategy as well. So thank you, and I wish you bon appetit.
Thank you very much. Bye bye.